The man whose method of breaking the mold would see his strangely peculiar video game called Metal Gear released in Japan. But little did Hideo Kojima know the impression his inaugural efforts to innovate were to leave on the industry forever. Our transitory story begins in the early 60s. The Cold War was in its prime, tensions were at their peak, and the first computers had but one practical application. Not for entertainment, but to defend a nation. That was it. That was their purpose. To simulate strategies, to simulate disaster scenarios, simulation, war games. You see, it's important to understand that games have always been rooted in militaristic fantasy and blowing stuff up without consequence. That was their original design before guys like Steve Russell would make family games out of them for no other motive but escapist entertainment, to let off some steam in a climate of constant threat. It's no surprise then that the space shooter, product of that Cold War context, defined the golden age of arcades. It's no surprise then that gaming has always retained that primal element to blow stuff up and kill people. It's that release that makes games fun. But from the comic mischief of Mario to your typical run-and-gun commando blitzfest, most games were simple archetypal stories featuring fearless heroes who take out everyone in sight. But then along comes a guy who is signed to produce yet another of these combat crusades, puts a spin on the subject. What if the objective is not to kill, but to evade detection? Are you kidding me? What a boring concept. Why would I want to run away when I can just blast these SOBs? It was a concept that initially met with scoffs and snickers. But the stealthy soldier shut the naysayers up when he hit shelves on July 7th, 1987 for the MSX2, a rather obscure console that was only available in Japan. Make no mistake, Metal Gear is not without its flaws. Its level design is a little rough around the edges, literally, and some bad programming moves kept the game from perfection, but in sticking to the shadows, Metal Gear stands as one of the most groundbreaking games ever. Not only did it add a sense of realism, because if you tried to gun your way through 20 soldiers, as in reality, you're taking a bullet, you're dead, but it also, for one of the first times, added some depth to the morality equation. Before games like Grand Theft Auto, which turned gratuity into some sort of self-conscious gratification, Metal Gear made you actually stop and question killing the guy around the corner. But perhaps most importantly, the game stands as one of the first steps to a cinematic experience. It applied the basic principle that suspense can be more thrilling than action, sneaking more exciting than shooting. Kojima grew up in the movie theater, and later, titles like Metal Gear Solid and its sequels with their heavy reliance on cutscenes would make that obvious. The landmark that created the stealth genre would come to the US, ported to the NES, rather haphazardly I might add. The game doesn't even have the giant robot Metal Gear in the game. What a joke. Sequels would follow, Snake of course would become Solid, and the series' incredible influence would splinter into secondhand success. The progenitor of stealth action in video games was released July 7th, 1987. This day in gaming.